Hey YouTube, today I'm going to talk a little bit about DMSO. I will talk a little bit about what it is, how it works in our bodies, and what you can use it for. DMSO stands for dimethyl sulfoxide, and it's an element basically of sulfur found in the ocean and brought up over to the earth by the atmosphere and then raining down onto the soil. It's concentrated quite a bit inside of trees, and this is one of the main reasons why people that harvest DMSO do get it out of the pulp of trees. It's been used for many, many years for industrial purposes, and that's anything from a solvent that helps to make paper to paint thinner. There's so many uses for it industrially, but what I'm really excited about and what I've put it to use for is for human consumption and for human use for healing. And so DMSO has been used for, as far as I can tell, it's been used for healing for horses in the early 1900s, let's say. And what they used it for was race horses and work horses, because just like humans, horses can get strains and sprains. And this is something that farmers and people who care for their race horses would regularly use for their injured horses. And that maybe a farmer would have used this and put it to human use and then just went from there. Deer, for example, when they're needing healing in the forest, they actually will find this source of sulfur in the trees for their healing. I think what made it more popular for human use was the fact that 60 Minutes put a piece on it, maybe in the late 80s, early 90s. And that is where it took off because, people found out about it and started putting it to use.
Dr. Jacob, isn't a drug that has so many alleged uses, from arthritis to tennis elbow, from burns to spinal cord injuries, from mental retardation to baldness, isn't a drug like that automatically suspect?
No question.
So what did they put it to use for? Well, a lot of people put it to use for things like joints, sore joints, muscle soreness. That was the biggest thing. So people with arthritic pain, people who had these conditions that caused inflammation at the joints. A lot of people that had sore muscles from, say, overworking it from extreme sports or working out, they would paint this onto their bodies. It became pretty famous because of a doctor named Stanley Jacob, and he would put people into his medical practice in, I don't know where it is actually off the top of my head, somewhere in the States, and he would administer this by painting it on the skin or giving it to them internally by IV injection. Okay, so IV injection is obviously out for the everyday person, but it can also be consumed by drinking it. So what I would do is, and what people do, not just me, but people would just take a teaspoon of this DMSO, and it's a clear solvent, it's a clear liquid, so you can see here, it's clear, and maybe a slight golden color to it, but a teaspoon in half a cup of water, stir it and drink it. Now that sounds simple enough, but DMSO has a property that it's really, really well known for, and that is tasting like garlic. And the thing about this is whether you drink it or whether you put it on your skin topically, within 1 minute, you will taste garlic in your mouth. So whether you drink it or whether you paint it on your skin, it does have a very distinct taste of like garlic, and it is a powerful, powerful medicine. So I would say, even though I take it, and a lot of people do take it, a teaspoon in a half a glass of water, I would say always start slow, no matter what you're doing, because it's not that you would have an allergy to this, because sulfur is a natural element in the earth. It's in every human body. It's in food. It's in all our food normally. The only reason that we're deficient in sulfur is because over the years, the soils have been abused, and normal farmers, commercial farmers, tend to just put the bare minimum back into the soil when they take as much as they can. So over the last 50, 60 years, the soils have been depleted of sulfur almost completely. And they don't put it back in. They put, as you might know, NPK, which is nothing to do with sulfur. It's more to do with the nitrogen, potassium, and anyways, I forgot. And so sulfur has gone by the wayside, but it's an essential mineral in our that's needed in our bodies. And this is why, so many people are depleted of this mineral and so need healing, because, if you're missing something, it's going to show up in your body eventually. So DMSO is used for, this is not an exhaustive list, because I found, even in all the research I did years ago, now that I'm looking back at it just to make this video, I see there's actually a ton more uses. And so one thing that's really neat that I found out recently is that it can break down biofilms, which makes a lot of sense. So that means it can pretty much kill bacteria, funguses, viruses, stuff like that, but sometimes they're very stubborn and they have this biofilm on them. So this can break down even the biofilm that these organisms carry to keep themselves protected from being killed. Also, the normal things that I would say have been that it's used for, or that I know it's used for, is for maybe rheumatoid arthritis, pain in the joints, sore muscles from extreme sports or exercise. It can also be used for breaking down scars. It's used for burns as well. I personally don't use it for burns because I use colloidal silver for burns. It's painless, but DMSO heals really well. I have tried it once before, and with a burn, like a pretty bad burn, and it did heal it very quickly, but it burns a lot. So I would leave that up to you, but it is one use that people have for it. Internally, when you're drinking this, I like to say that this DMSO is a lot like liquid Drano. You know how when your pipes are blocked in your kitchen sink or bathroom sink, you might pour Drano down there? This is like a natural Drano for our arteries, for our blood vessels.
Hey guys, sorry,
so
in this part of the video,
amazing
I am
because
trying to struggle to say the word atherosclerosis. It was pretty early in the morning, but yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, atherosclerosis.
basically like fat deposits and other things that build up in our blood vessels and kind of block it up. This is one way that you can actually help to clear that out. Not medical advice, but this is what it can be used for. Taking this regularly. Now, I have never taken it more than twice a day, but I did look up some information online, and 1 teaspoon in half a glass of water twice a day is what I would normally do. You can take it, because it's so very safe, you could take this up to 4 times a day, the same thing. I'd say it's a game changer for people who don't want to have a lot to do with going into the doctor's office. I know in the States it's an issue with like insurance and all that. In Canada, healthcare is free, but I do not trust the healthcare system in Canada because it's just overworked. There was a time where maybe it was good medical services being provided, but in this day and age, you're in and out, you're a number, and they have no choice because they're overworked in the doctor's offices. Quality care could be something you do for yourself. And this does have side effects, but compared to prescription drugs that are prescribed every single day, that do kill thousands of people when used actually correctly. It's not from misuse, it's from proper use that thousands of people do die every year from prescription drugs. Nobody's died from DMSO. You might feel nauseous. You might have redness or itching to the site where you painted on if your skin is sensitive, if you don't dilute it to your skin. This product here is a gel with 70% of DMSO and 30% of aloe vera gel. So sometimes when you want to put it for purposes that aren't going to be too drippy, you can mix it with a gel like aloe vera gel. It must be pure, but some people also just do 50% water, 50% DMSO, and then paint it on. So because it's half and half, it shouldn't be too bad. If you have sensitive skin, you may end up with that area being a little bit red. but nobody has ever died of DMSO. DMSO can also be used internally, not just for your blood vessels, but also to decrease inflammation. If you have inflammation in your body, it can, because it goes systemically. I mean, this stuff is so powerful. It passes the blood-brain barrier and it promotes circulation. So just that alone is a really good reason to take it daily. People have proven many diseases really are just a product of inflammation. So if you can keep inflammation down in your body, you can prevent disease in your body. Another big thing is that DMSO is a game changer in the field of medicine alone, just for the fact that it is an excellent carrier of medications. Because of the fact that it goes through your body, it circulates through your body within seconds, really. People have found that when they add a medication or an herbal medicine, let's say, to the DMSO, it carries and penetrates that medication further into the body than it would have if the medication was used by itself. So for example, if I was to take Lugol's iodine, which I'm a big fan of, if I take Lugol's iodine with the DMSO, this now gets the Lugol's iodine into my cells, penetrating much faster and better than it would have if I just took Lugol's iodine by itself. So this is another reason why when you do use DMSO, if you were to paint it on your skin, for example, that you want to make sure that your skin is very clean. Because it's such a powerful carrier, if you have something like chemicals from, like, I don't know, some body lotion that's got weird chemicals in it, it's going to carry that right into your blood cells. So that's why it's important to have clean hands, clean skin whenever you use this, and also clean water if you're going to take it internally, because it's going to carry whatever you got with it into your cells. So this is basically one of the biggest uses for emergencies, because it's like liquid Drano for the vessels. This is actually really important to have in your medicine cabinet for emergencies like heart attack and strokes. Now, I know there's more than one way. I mean, I've heard cayenne pepper is a really good way, and it is a good way to help somebody who's in the middle of having a stroke or a heart attack. But this is a really good way as well, because you can take this repetitively. Arguably, somebody who's having a heart attack or a stroke might not be able to tolerate taking something like cayenne pepper multiple times in a row. But this, although it does taste a little gross because it tastes like garlic, this is definitely easier on your taste buds than taking pepper. So these are the main reasons why I would have this, and I do have this in my medicine cabinet. It's not cheap. Since COVID, this has doubled in price, if not tripled. But DMSO is this 16-ounce bottle I bought for $100 Canadian. But I feel like it's invaluable, and you can also purchase this in smaller bottles if you just want to take it for emergencies. And if you compare it to the price of medications these days, this is something that has relatively low toxicity in terms of side effects. And it's also going to be a much cheaper option if you were comparing it to any other medication, let's say for heart medication. I would call it a medication, but it's also a natural supplement because it's got sulfur in it. So for those reasons, I would say, even though I like to keep things inexpensive, this one is worth the price. And it can go a really long way. And one last thing that I have used it for that's very effective is migraine headaches. If you just paint some of it onto your temples, I find eucalyptus oil, essential oil, like 100% pure essential oil, really helps with migraine headaches. So if you just paint that on with a little bit of DMSO, it will again carry that eucalyptus oil and open up the blood vessels so that the migraine will help go away faster. So that's all I got for today. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.